The topic of tonight's lecture, I trust, is the one that's brought you all here. And if you don't know what it is, it has to do with something that, frankly, I've been noticing more and more and more in the last, I'd say, few months, possibly a year or so. And it has to do with what we are calling, simply for lack of a better term, givers and takers. Now, before we even get into the subject matter, I want to stress a few things very simply, and they are this, that anytime you attend a lecture, I would like to describe to you a little bit what the clairvoyant sees when he or she views such a situation as this. Now, perhaps we should back up one more step. What's a clairvoyant, right? What does that mean? What are you talking about? Talking French? Yes, as a matter of fact, I am. That's the word. Clairvoyant means clear seeing. It's a word that has entered the English language, indeed, through the French, and what it means is a kind of a clear sight that normally comes from the soul. So we're not talking physical sight. I don't care if you got 20/20 vision, you may not be clairvoyant particularly. Some people who are clairvoyant are physically blind. So you're supposed to show, it's the inner sight, it's the sight of the soul, that is really happening. So clairvoyance is that ability to see with the inner sight. When you begin to use this kind of an ability, what happens is you see things that escape ordinary physical vision. You really do. You've all heard of auras. You all know about auras. What is an aura? Well, what is the aura, in fact? It's nothing more than your atmosphere. It's what is around you at all times. It's what is with you all the time. That is called your aura. Your aura is the atmosphere. You give it off. It just so happens that when you see it psychically, you see it in color. You really do. I mean, I know it sounds crazy. You might think I'm tripping, I'm hallucinating, but when I look at you, if I really try, I will start to notice a kind of a rainbow thing happening around you. I'll start seeing some greens and blues and yellows and all kinds of things around you if I really try. Of course, at that point, I have to be in what we call an altered state, which means I cannot be in the so-called daily waking state, because if I am, I couldn't drive, right? I'd go off the road. What a beautiful aura. And I'd be off the road, so I can't do that. Well, the aura is that very thing. I happen to have, by the grace of God, a very beautiful and powerful spirit guide called Golden Eagle. Golden Eagle is a Native American being, or at least that was the life that he chooses to retain. He was of the Lakota tribe, Midwest, which you might call Sioux Indians. By the way, the Sioux, that word Sioux, you all heard Sioux Indians, that's a French word. The Indians never use that word. It's a French word. They refer to themselves as Lakota, which, if you notice, the word Dakota sounds very similar. It is. They just changed the letter. Okay. Like the Navajo, we call them Navajo. They call themselves Diné, which means the people. We are Diné, the people. So it just goes to show. You know how it goes. Okay. Well, I have a very beautiful and powerful Indian guide, American Indian guide called Golden Eagle. And Golden Eagle once told me that the headdresses of the chiefs, we see these things with the American Indians, were designed after the aura. They could see the aura, of course, and the chief was the guy who had more mana, he had more power, more energy flowing out of him, so they could see this thing going out from him in colors and things, and so in their attempt to, make that into something physical, to denote it for those who could not see this psychically, they would get what they had. What did they have? Eagle feathers, hawk feathers, whatever. And they would put together this thing called a headdress, which was this beautiful thing that was really characteristic of the aura. A really powerful chief had a headdress that went all the way down his back. It didn't just go around the head, it would go all the way down his back. So also is the aura, you understand? So why am I talking about auras and everything? Simply because I'm discussing this thing called clairvoyance, which is this ability that everybody has. You all have it, It's what you feel. There's many levels of it. Clairsentience is that feeling, that gut thing you have. You meet somebody, you like them or you don't like them. How come? Is it what they're wearing? No. Usually it's what you're sensing when you're around them. See? There we go. Okay, so this is something that I'm talking about. So the clairvoyance is something that a person can develop. It's something we all have naturally. It comes easily when you know what to do to develop it. Okay, well, so when I look at a lecture, which is what this is technically called, what do I see? I see not only your auras, I see That each one of you becomes now like a receiving station, and ultimately you will be a broadcasting station. What I say tonight, whatever I may be able to share with you, whatever information, hopefully truth, if that's how you accredit it, you will take it, because why? You're reading me. I hope so anyway. No, but I know you are. I can tell by looking at you. In other words, if I'm up here and I'm just going to pull your leg, you're going to know it. If I'm up here just to tell you all kind of, tall stories and what they call fish tales, you're going to know it. You are going to know it. I trust you will know it. See? But that's not my intention. I don't believe I'm going to do that. That's not why I took your time and mine. Instead, I came to speak about a very relevant subject, and something that, apparently is kind of new to me, frankly, because I just hadn't thought about it. And I have a funny feeling a lot of you haven't thought about it too much either. And that's why we're here. It's called givers and takers. You give, right? When you take, you take. Two different kind of people. Democrats, Republicans. Day and night. Male, female, black, white. Get it? Hina, cool. This is polarities. It's called polarities. There's polarities in life. And we learn to know that there's things that go this way and that way. Well, the whole thing of givers and takers began to be suggested to me some time back. And I was told to actually take notes, and I did. I actually did. I started thinking about it. Well, and the reason why I think this is significant is because of this, that A, I think most of you are givers, number one. Let's start with that, or you wouldn't be here. And B, whatever you hear tonight, whatever might make any kind of a difference to you, whatever might even hopefully illumine you even a little bit, or be some food for thought, you're going to take with you from this point, and you're going to take it out there, and you're going to broadcast it just in your consciousness. That's what you're going to do. That's what people do. They broadcast things in their consciousness. In other words, what does that mean? That you will, whatever by what you know, give that out wherever you go. You could be standing there at McDonald's, if you go to McDonald's, and you're radiating your knowledge, and the person next to you ordering a Big Mac is going to get enlightened just a little bit. That can happen. So I'm saying this simply to validate your presence here. I'm grateful you came, but not just because you came here to listen to what I had to say. That kind of has nothing to do with it. It's more the topic matter, and it's more the fact that you knew enough, you sensed enough, you were clairvoyant enough to get that there was something important enough for you to set aside all of the things you could be doing tonight and be right here, right now, and pick up on what's going on here. So I got to give it to you. That's what I'm saying. Not because it's me. It could be anybody. Any lecture that's of any value, I think, that you take the time and trouble to go experience and see, you are making a statement and you're making a contribution in this way. You are all part of the mass brain pool, or the mass consciousness. So whatever you think, know, believe, and feel is constantly being radiated into what everybody else thinks, believes, knows, and feels. Believe me. We are not separate entities. No man is an island. So everything you absorb, everything you feel, you think, you know, all those things radiate into the mass brain pool, and therefore you're making a contribution. Does that give us some responsibility? Yeah, I think so. I think so, right? Because if we're coming from a weird place, that's what we're given, Does the world need any more weird stuff? I don't think so. I'm seeing enough of it out there already. I don't think we need that. So I think that by us sitting there just listening to something and with some kind of sense, some kind of truth, we just might be making a contribution. So again, I'm only saying this to show you all what I really see, perceive, and believe in your role in being here. I'll sit up here and talk, but it's not that. It's more what you have sensed or felt enough to get you here, and I'm telling you, forces that you may not know of perhaps are the ones that moved you to be here. So let's get on with the subject matter, shall we? Okay. Givers and takers. A giver is a person who by nature is always looking to see what can they add to the situation. A taker is usually looking to see what can they get from the situation. A giver is a person whose heart tends to be open enough where they feel something called love, and if they can in any way, shape, or form do something to help you, they're going to do it. A taker is usually coming from the place where they're going, wow, I like this person. They got a lot to give. I wonder what I can get from them. Givers and takers, okay? A giver tends to think of other people. A taker, usually about themselves. Now, before I go any further, I want to say this, because mind you, and I warn you, I may be describing some of your nearest and dearest. Okay? Warning. Little warnings that they give on little packages and things. I got to give one. Before I end this night, you're going to be going, that's my friend. That's my brother. That's my wife. That's my husband. That's my son. That's my daughter. That's my mother. Sorry. I'm not here to promote family happiness, though I'm all for it. You understand? I'm here to promote truth as best as I can. There was a man once called Mohandas Gandhi, who was a Libra, like I am. And he once said, my commitment is not to consistency, but it is to truth. If I find out something tomorrow that changes my whole spiel, that's what I'm going to be talking about. I don't care what I've been saying the last 20 years. You know what I'm saying? If I find out one thing that changes all that, that's where I'm coming from. My commitment is to truth, not consistency. We all need to think about that just a little bit. Okay? But I've been married to her for 20 years. I'm sorry. That's too bad. But guess what? Tonight you found out something about the person you've been married to for 20 years. Now I'm not here to, make trouble either. Okay, you understand? I'm not here to make waves. But by the same token, I understand that this very topic is a little bit controversial, just a little bit, because it's going to show you all, I think, certain things that you might have chosen to overlook. Because that brings us to our very next point. Givers, because they are givers, they want to give the benefit of the doubt. They overlook. They overlook. They overlook. They forgive. They tolerate. Ad infinitum. Some would say ad nauseam. Too much. Meaning, it's seemingly the role of spirit at this time who gave me this idea. Believe me, this was not my idea. I got to tell you all. Any of you who know me, you realize I'm a medium. I work with spirit. I do what basically I'm told by my guides and teachers. And they made a big deal about this particular lecture. They said, you got to give this one. Givers and takers. Tell them all about it, Why? Because, you know why? Because it's time to protect the givers. Y'all need some information. You need a handbook. You weren't given that when you were born, I don't think. I wasn't. Use this handbook for givers. Watch out for the takers. And by the same token, and I want to make that real clear right now, I'm not here to, cause you to think of a giver who you may already be thinking about in your world as an enemy. No, please, that's not at all it. In fact, hopefully, if I do my job right, by the end of the evening, you will understand that a taker is somebody who probably doesn't know any better, who for whatever reason has thought that's the way they got to be, et cetera, et cetera. We're not here to make enemies, believe me. We're not here to generate anger or incite a riot or make you think, you don't like the person who you've been hanging out with for all this time. That's not the point, please. And if you walk away from this, I'm afraid I haven't done my job right. No, really. We're here to understand. One great master once said, to understand all is to forgive all. That's quite true. To understand all is to forgive. That doesn't mean you end up a doormat. That doesn't mean you play into the hands of the giver. That doesn't mean you let them keep taking, excuse me, taker, by the way, because you're the giver. That doesn't mean you keep, just go ahead and let them walk all over you. Doesn't mean that at all. It means that you start to notice, okay, maybe what this guy said has some truth to it. Maybe this person who actually I'm close with, or I know, or I've been together with, or whatever, is actually a taker, and I'm just starting to look at that. Okay, granted, it's a shock. I've had that shock myself. I've had people point out to me certain things about people who I thought I knew real well, and they point and go, look what a taker this person is. And I'm like, wow. And it was hard, I have to admit, it was hard. A little heartbreaking, quite frankly. Why? Because we know what hurts the most? You have to admit to yourself that the taker, maybe someone you know and love, doesn't love you the way you love them. That's hard to deal with. And you know what? Some of you just may not be quite ready to look at that. That's okay. It's okay. The point is, there'll come a day when you will. And in the interest of truth, you will start to realize that, I guess that person who I always thought really cared for me kind of doesn't. Based on this, and the list will be long. Shall I give you a few symptoms? Shall we go there? Sorry. We got to go into this. This isn't a pretty topic. I mentioned I'm a Libra. Any of you who know anything at all about astrology, you may know one thing. Libras don't like ugly. Okay? We don't. We don't like messy. We don't like ugly. We don't like, make it nice and pretty for me, please, I like the chandeliers. I like the nice, clean tablecloths, Don't show me I don't like that. Don't go there. Try not to. That's what happened, So just so you know, this is not a pleasant subject, but it's one I've had to deal with. I've had my face rubbed in it, quite honestly. Well, I hope I don't have to do that to you, but, we got to share this because, again, in the interest of truth. How would you know you are dealing with a taker? Well, the first thing would probably occur the first time you felt that person was being unfair to you. Why are they doing this? I wouldn't do that to them, but they're doing it to me, aren't they? They're taking something, they're doing something, they're doing that, and I think, oh, kind of mean, huh? I wouldn't do that. Why would they do that to me? But guess what? You're a giver, so you're going to overlook it. Oh, having a bad day. And it's true. Anybody can have a bad day. Granted. Hey, we all have them, right? What if it happens again? You'll probably overlook it. You're a giver, right? Red flag. Start watching. It's just something to be aware of, you see? And again, I find that givers by nature tend to be a little naive, like children. And here may be one of the most important parts of this lecture. I'm going to say we, because I'm just going to include you all as givers. If there's a taker out there among you, listen up. But, basically I'm talking to givers, I think, because that's what I can see as far as I can see. Okay. Well, takers will not think anything like givers do, and vice versa. Guess what? As givers, we don't think like them. We don't. It's like someone from a far away other country, other culture. What's up with that? They're coming up with a whole new set of things, that don't work in my world, in my society. Some of you may know, I've heard this, I don't even know if it's true. If you go to the Middle East, they say that if you burp after a meal, it's a sign of being polite, or it's really a good thing. Well, you don't want to do that at an Amy Vanderbilt dinner, now do you? How rude, that kind of thing. So, just different, rules and laws apply. So you understand. So think about this, that a giver thinks very differently than a taker does. As a matter of fact, we don't understand how they think at all. So we keep thinking, they must have had that wrong. They must have misunderstood that. They couldn't have. I can't imagine they really, really thought that. I just can't get that. Why? Because you never would. Get it straight. You don't think like them. Get that real clear, my friends. They don't think like you do. That doesn't mean we dislike them. That doesn't mean much less we hate them. No. But you gotta keep it clear what's up with that. Someone, like I said, from another culture to the country, they've got a whole new set of rules and regulations. They're coming from a whole different place, So I'm saying we gotta look at that. So what do you do? Okay, so let's just say, okay, Art, you got it, okay already, I know who the giver is. I'm living with them. Okay, so what? Well, up to you. You don't have to do anything, of course. But if you choose to do something, I would say probably a good word would be put a little distance between you and that person. Enough so you can observe a little more what's going on. Enough so you can start to really notice this. Some of you may go, but we're all both givers and takers. I think I'm hearing somebody's thoughts out there. But we're all givers and takers. Somewhat. That has not been my findings, quite frankly. My findings are you're either one or the other, pretty much. I'd say pretty strong, 80%. So, you know what? Sorry, don't buy it. Show me someone who's pure giver and taker both. I don't think so. I haven't seen it. I think people tend to be pretty much one or pretty much the other. Now, this may sound like a contradiction, what I'm about to say. It is not. In the interest of fairness, balance, and equality, Libras like that. I'll say this. The guides and teachers that I work with have passed down this philosophy, this teaching, this truth, if you will. And it says this, that everybody is, today, all of you, what they have found it the most convenient to be based on their past life experiences. So a taker, by that theory or explanation would be someone who found that, you know what, they really should take every chance they get, because that may be what it takes to survive. See what I'm saying? So again, we're not into blaming these people. We're not into making them bad. We're not, none of that. Please, please, please. That will not add to your consciousness. What I'm thinking is that you at least be clear enough to realize when you're dealing with one. Here in Hawaii, as you know, it's a really harmless place as far as the animal kingdom is concerned, pretty much. Go to Arizona. Go to Australia. See what happens. Walk out in the bush. What's going to happen then? There are many, 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 many poisonous things that if you don't watch out, they'll kill you. Are they evil? No. Is a rattlesnake evil? No. Is a tiger snake evil? No. But they'll kill you. And they won't even think about it. They'll kill you and just go away. And they won't even think about it. You think they're going to lose any sleep over it? No. Why should they? That's their nature. Got it? That's their nature. That's the point I want to bring to y'all. Be aware, my dear ones. Be aware. Don't put yourself in striking distance if you know you're dealing with a rattlesnake. Don't put yourself where you can be taken if you're dealing with a taker. Okay? It's up to you. Up to you. Y'all going to walk out of here and, you know, I may never see some of you again. How do I know? But at least I got to know that I've at least put some guidelines and suggestions and things because I care for givers, because I feel that's the aspect of human consciousness that's possibly the most closely connected with what I would call the divine, or those who come from a higher dimensional energy. That's what I see. So that's what I would like to introduce. So when it comes to that givers and takers thing, please know that you're going to find more and more people tend to be, again, more one than the other. That's the first point I want to make. Number two, you'll know you're dealing with takers when they start taking. I mean, they will. Sooner or later, they can't help it. They're going to ask from you what maybe you might feel they don't quite have the right to ask, or what you've never asked of them or would. A taker will usually assume that things are their right to have or to take. They will assume it. You never said that. You didn't sign any paper, but guess what? They're going to assume that about it. And the thing that'll get you is this. They're so adamant about it, and they're so righteous about it. They're going to make you feel you're the wrong one. Does that ring any bells? I've seen a few auras going off. A few people going, how'd you know? Because I've been there too. I've had takers make me feel like I was the bad guy. What did I do? I gave to you. I did this. I did what? You know, well, you did this. You didn't do this for me. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I didn't, huh? I didn't pay your salary. I didn't pay your rent. What didn't I do? After all, you took. You see? So I think we really need to know what's going on with this, because, my friends, I really believe that in the future, everybody's going to evolve to be a giver. That's my personal belief. Call me a Pollyanna, whatever. Optimistic, maybe. I think that's the divine plan. I think that's where we're all headed. I really do. I think that's where we're all going to be ultimately. And those of you who are already there, who feel like you're already givers, well then, wonderful. You cannot stop giving. Don't think you can. Okay, got it, Art. I heard you. I know who the taker is in my life. I sure got that down. You know what? I'm not having anything to do with him anymore. I'm going to answer the phone. Well, be careful. Why? Because you are a giver. If you try and stop giving, you're going to hurt yourself. You can't do that. Can the flowers stop giving out fragrance? No. Can the beautiful pikaki blossoms stop giving out that wonderful essence? No. And you're not supposed to stop giving. You can only decide to whom and how much. That's it. Therein lies your power. To whom and how much. If you think you're going to stop giving, not too good. Now, I'll admit, there are some people, there are some takers who you kind of really got to just snip the cord. Sorry. You know why? Because they're heavy-duty takers, and they're going to take everything they can from you. So those people, I'm afraid you have to put some distance. That's why I said distance. What's the first thing? Distance. First just to check it out, and then maybe just to, You got to do that. I mean, there is that. And I'll admit it's not pretty and it's not easy and it's painful and it's going to break your heart in some cases. Sorry. What hurts more? You know, a quick, sharp, I got to do this, or just keep on bleeding yourself to death for the rest of your life. I mean, it'll be that if you're dealing with a real taker. That's what's up. So you see, my friends, the guides that I work with have made it a very important point to bring this to my attention and ask that I please share it with you all, and that's why. There's not a whole lot written about it, I don't think. I can't remember any books I ever read about it. I don't remember anyone ever talking about it openly to me. I don't think I ever attended a lecture where that was happening. So, you know, I'm kind of going, okay, I'm out here doing this, whatever. But I sure have seen enough of it to understand that there's something going on there. Now, before I go off on another tangent, I want to say this. Givers, as I said, have a tendency to give too much. True. But they also have a tendency to not like to call a taker a taker. Ooh. You know what? I don't want to be mean. I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. I'm not going to say that. Oh, it's so sentimental. Excuse me. At some point, it is so sickening. It is sick. And I'm referring to a pharmaceutical kind of sick. Here's why. Because you know what it means? It means that unfortunately that person has gotten so lulled and so hypnotized and so deluded as to their own divine nature and who they are and their intrinsic self-worth and the preciousness that is in their soul and their heart, that they don't even look at that. All they know is whatever they can give to whoever. And that happens too. More is the pity, you understand. Again, I'm not saying these people are someone to be looked down upon. There's someone to be, you know, looked after, perhaps, if that can happen. We need a lot of compassion here. But my dear friends, I really think we're coming into a new time, a new cycle, and I really think we're going to come into a time when things are going to get very, very clear in consciousness. Some of you may have noticed there's an acceleration of things going on. Events pick up, all kinds of things pick up, you know? What's going on? Some of you may have had certain upsets in your life recently, like in the last 2 weeks or so. I'm looking at some jagged looking auras here. I'm looking at some funny little things. I'm going to point you out, don't worry. I will not embarrass you. I never would. But I can see some of you have not been walking such a, smooth road. And I think it has to do with something not too far away from the topic we're talking about tonight. See? So, good. I'm not surprised. It's okay. It's okay. And mind you, and here we go. This is a very important point. Sweet, sweet souls. And I consider you all that way. Givers, don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed of giving. Don't be ashamed that you have been taken. Don't be ashamed that you've given for 25 years. Don't be ashamed that you weren't able to call a taker. Please don't do that. You know why? Because God is the ultimate giver. Look at God. Is God ashamed? No. Don't be ashamed. No shame. No shame at all, please. That's not the solution. The solution, if there is one, is one of, okay, got it. I think I'm getting the message here, okay? We're going to change the tune just a little bit, and we're going to start moving in a different direction. It's just called getting smart, that's all. No shame, no embarrassment, please. That is not the point. So I beg you, don't feel bad about yourselves, because we all do when you realize, oh man, what a fool, how could I be so stupid that I've been believing this situation and accepting this and da-da-da-da-da-da. It's the first thing you want to do, because you think, I gave, I gave them the life savings, I gave this, I gave that, I gave everything, But how smart can I be? No. I have known that I was a giver since I was a lot younger than I am now. And when I learned that when we so-called die, notice I say so-called, because nobody dies, you all know that. When you drop the physical body, when you drop your car, your vehicle, when it stops running, and you walk out and go away, and that's all that happens, believe me. And your physical body says, or someone tows it away, whatever, cremation, whatever. When that happens, you go to the other side, a couple of things happen. One thing I hear is that we review our own lives. We are our own so-called judge and jury, if there is one. And you know what? I've often said this. I thought, you know what? When I'm over there and I'm looking at my life, I rather say that I've made errors because I gave too much and because I took too much. I'll feel okay with that. Okay, so I was a fool, so I rather than think, you know what, man, I was one stingy, you know what. Don't give me that. I don't want to do that. I'd rather have given too much. If I want to make an error, I'll err on that side. That's just how I personally feel about it, It's okay. So again, please, feel not badly if you suddenly see a mirror in front of you and you see that you are not only a giver, but a giver who's given too much. Join the club. It's okay. It's really okay. We're cool. We all will find ourselves ultimately growing because we gave. And the beautiful thing about this, I love it. Divine mind, God, call it whatever you want, that great, wonderful being, Akua, whatever you want to call it, that being in ultimate wisdom has set it up that way. Shiva. Whatever you want to call that wondrous being. You know why? Because of cosmic laws, which says that the law of compensation. Whatever you give, got to come back. Got to come back. Even if you were a fool, you gave away your money. Guess what? It's going to come back to you. Because you earned it, or you wouldn't have had it to begin with. Can't give what you don't have. Got it? So don't feel foolish. Please, please, please. Take it from one who knows. After they go, There's a song. Don't worry, I'm not going to sing it for you. But there's a song that I happen to like by a singer that I happen to like. His name is Johnny Winter. He's from Texas. And he does a song called Be Careful with a Fool. Oh, I like that song. The second line is, because someday he may get smart. Be careful with a fool. Someday he may get smart. And if you want to hear the third and fourth line, it says, and he just might treat you so cruelly chilling, he's going to hurt you down to your heart. Means, because you know why? Because that's what he's going to bounce back and remember what you've done. I'm not talking to you all, of course, but you know what I'm saying? So think about it. Be careful with a fool. So it's okay to be a fool, but it's better to wake up and stop being one, I think. So you are givers. Come to know one thing. You are the outposts of the divine. You are closer to God than takers. Takers are like children that need to be fed. What's wrong with that? Nothing. Nothing. They have their role. Believe me, they have their place. Do we hold it against a baby that needs to be fed and its mother feeds it? Of course not. There's a time and a place for that. That's nature. But, hey, not at 7 years old. Baby don't need to be nursing, or sun's up. Maybe an unusual situation is going on here. I don't know. You tell me. You understand what I'm saying? There are lines to be drawn. There's balances to be struck. There's fairness to be brought about. That's all. You are givers, and in your giving, you will find that you're blessed. But I think we can be good givers and not foolish givers, and that's the point of the lecture. Okay? I'm not here to say stop being givers. Of course not. You can't. You can't. But you can learn how much to give and to whom. And you may have to exercise a little bit of discipline. And here we come to a very important part of my lecture, and it's this. Some givers, let's talk about givers now. Okay, I've been talking all about the takers now, right? Y'all been saying, I know about the takers. Yeah. Well, guess what? I'm going to talk about the givers now, and I'm going to tell you something about them. Some givers give just so that they can take in the long run. Oh, yeah. You ever had people who gave you a gift and they get angry when you give it away, or when they can't see it, or when, you ever had that happen? I have. People gave me something, I thought. They gave me, and it was there. And then one day someone came years later and admired it. Oh, you really like that? And I'm a giver, right? Go ahead, take it. I gave it. Where's that thing I gave you? Oh, I thought you gave it to me. I guess you didn't, huh? Was it a loan? Must have loaned it. If you're now worried about what I did with it, if I give something, it's gone. I mean, that's it. I'm done with it. Okay?
I'm curious.
Yes.
Would it be where in a previous lifetime we were the reverse? Where we're
In some cases, absolutely. In some cases, absolutely. Wonderful point, and very well taken, and exactly true. In some cases, I would say absolutely true. A person who's been a taker, and at the end of a given life, when they finally hit the point of spiritual maturity where they look at their life and go, you know what? All I did was take. Wow. And they feel ashamed. They feel like, they'll say, you know what? Never again. And that's a very beautiful turning point in the soul's growth. Yes, absolutely. Yes. However, there's some of us who have been givers since day one, and will never be anything but. And that's a whole other breed of souls. Yeah, but you're right, absolutely. So, again, I'm now, telling about the givers now. We know all about the takers, right? We covered that. Okay, well, let's get to the givers now. There are the givers who give just so that they can take. Don't forget those. There are the givers who give because they don't feel worthy. They don't feel like they're worth anything. They don't feel like they really are that cool to begin with, so you know what? They better give up something just so you'll like them. Ever seen that? That's why they give, just because they're afraid of rejection. Poor things. They give because they feel if they don't give, then they can't get along. Then no one's going to like them. And they have an underestimation of their own inner self-worth. That's that. So you got some of that going on too. See what I'm saying? So again, you understand, I'm not just trying to make this patent, givers are good and takers are bad, No. We got to look a little deeply into this kind of stuff. We got to look and realize if you are all givers, as I think you are, why are you givers? What are you getting from it? Question that. You need to. If you can honestly say, you know what, because you know what, that's all I can do. I can't. That's who I am. Okay, God bless you. You're a genuine giver. I pronounce you one. Well, because I'm giving because if I don't, then they're going to think I'm. Then you got considerations. You may end up being a taker to begin with. You're just kind of covering your tracks a little bit. So let's look at it all. I'm not. I'm not here to make enemies. Believe me. And I really hope that then you go home and start disliking somebody. But I wouldn't feel badly if you went home and started to identify somebody in your life. And especially someone that's hurting you. That's my main point. Or God's hope. Yes?
Could you talk a little bit more about the discipline? You said that word discipline, and I think for me, I give because it's easier. I'm not that disciplined to say, stop. I give, oh God, it's just great.
I don't think you can stop giving, though. Remember? I said givers can't stop giving. No, I think the discipline is in deciding to whom you would give and how much. I think that's the discipline part. It's not, you can't really stop giving, and I suggest you don't try. If you're a giver, don't stop giving. You'll die. You'll choke. No, you can't stop giving. But you need to just go, okay, now is everybody to whom I'm giving worthy of what I'm giving? Or is this an imbalance? Am I just, and then just take, that's wrong. That part. See, you can't stop. You really can't. I've tried. You can't. Blood pressure goes up. Doesn't work. No. Because if you're a giver, you're a giver. You can't. It's like a river. It's out of flowing. No. You can redirect it, though. Do that. As much as you can do, I think. And that's important, I think. So there we go. I think that's something that you can do. I started some time back and saying, how do you know when you're dealing with a taker? Well, the first time you feel violated, that's a red flag right there. The first time someone does something to you that you wouldn't do to them, I'd look at that. Now, that doesn't mean absolutely you're dealing with a taker and you're a giver. I mean, let's not be so abrupt here. But if it happens again, and it happens again, and it happens again, and the more you look at it, and here comes a point that some of you might find really difficult, and you get to the point where you kind of need to, or I would suggest you start drawing up a list. And that sounds terrible. You go, oh my God, what do you mean? You mean I'm doing tit for tat? Everything I do to the person, I got to write it down? Well, if there's a question, yeah. It's called keeping an accounting. I know that sounds terrible, and to you, some of you, this is abhorrent. You go, oh my God, that's the worst thing you ever said. But you know what? I've done it. I've drawn up this little list. They'll shock you. Because what you're going to find is you've given boom, 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 down the low. What did they give you? 1, 2, maybe. Lucky if 3. Takers don't like to give a whole lot. And what little they give, woo, baby, they just tell you about it all day long. They will never let you forget it. Remember when I did that for you? Yeah. Remember how I've been supporting you for the last 3 years? They don't know about that. Now again, there's exceptions in every situation. I can only leave it to your wisdom and the presence within you to define the truth here. But I think if you just think, give it a little thought, you'll know what I'm talking about. There are categories that we're dealing with here. That's the way it is. It's not a pleasant subject. I told you at the beginning. I don't particularly like to dwell on it, but I've been given that commission, and you know what? I feel really okay with it. Why? Because I'll tell you what, in the work that I do, which is counseling, most of you know a little bit about the work I do. I've shared sessions with a lot of you here. I end up talking to all the givers who've been taken. So there's nothing left to give. And now they're down and out, and they, you know, what do I do, you know? And we try and help a little bit there, you know, if we can. So I know something about giving and taking, and those who comprise the two categories, okay? That's all I'm saying. So, dear friends, it's one of those things that I think comes with our spiritual maturity. As a child, you know, like little kids, look at kids. Any of you who have children or are ever observing, you know that. You've watched your child, who if you're a giver, they probably are too, deal with another kid who isn't. The bully, the one who took, the one who stole, the one whatever, right? What do you say? You don't want to make your child bitter. You don't want to tell, you know, the kid's a little thief, a little brat. You don't want to do that. But guess what? You know it. That child is then not fair, right? You know what I mean? It follows right on down the generations, I'm telling you. I wouldn't be surprised if you see such a child, you look at the parents, same thing, ditto. Carbon copy, you know. You know? Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know if I can go into this area. Now I'm getting I'm getting deep water here. Maybe I won't do this. I don't know. I'm thinking twice about this one, but I guess I will. Unfortunately, this is tricky. I really don't know if I can do this. Do it, huh? Hey. Okay. Shucks. Ooh, this is a hard one. Okay. I just saw the way to do it. There are certain ethnic groups that tend to have certain values that will tend to make them more givers than takers. How's that? Let's talk about the Hawaiians. Full-on givers. Aloha all the way, right? There's others that aren't so generous. And again, there's 1,000 exceptions, and we can't judge anyone by the color of their skin. But you all know what I'm saying, and it's not wrong to notice certain things like that. To look and say, something here, there's something here. And that is, I mean, believe me, the last thing I'm going to do is, now I want you all to be racist, you know, no, please, you know, that would not take care of the problem, okay? But again, the only reason I bring that up is why? Because it's good to study it as a mystical study. That's what we are dealing with here. I'm not here to create animosity. I'm here to say that when you start to notice some of these things, you start to understand that where you stand in relationship to it, regardless of the body you're in. Regardless of the body you're in. It doesn't matter what color skin you're wearing. But you come to know that you may have taken on something. What if you are coming from a giver ethnic situation? And you think that's just normal and natural. Well, it is, of course. But hey, you know what? You may be giving a little too much. To you, that's normal. To you, that's natural. Why? Because my auntie gave, my daddy gave, everybody else gave, now you're giving too. Okay? Ho, 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 ho. Let's look at this situation. You see? This is something to look at. That's all I'm saying. These topics, this is why these things have been taught in what are known as mystery schools. Some of you might have heard that term. What is a mystery school? A mystery school is a place that does not have a big billboard in front saying mystery school, number one. You'll never see that. If you ever do, it isn't a mystery school, believe me. A mystery school, there have always been these places. They have been in every culture, in every civilization that I know of. There are places where certain souls who happen to be of the so-called older souls, more lifetimes, they learn certain things that cannot be told to the general public. Why? Because a lot of people will misunderstand these things and misjudge them. Do you understand? It's just the way it is. Some of you are understanding what I'm saying perfectly. Some, for the most part. Some just not completely. And that's okay. I'll keep talking anyway. Okay? So it's okay, you know. So when I say mystery schools, okay, that's the way it was. Example, there was a mystery school in Palestine about 2,000 years ago, right around the time when that historical being known as the Master Jesus was alive, okay? They were known as the Essenes. They were a mystery school. The Master Jesus was involved with them, as was his cousin John, who you might know as John the Baptist, okay? They knew all about this stuff, okay? But this is not commonly known. You're not going to find this written in the Bible. It's not one of those things. You see, these are what we call mystery school teachings. They teach what we call occultism. Occult, what does it mean? Not cult. Don't focus on that. That word cult. Oh my God, cults. You know. No. Occult means hidden. What's hidden? The occult is what is hidden. When you are at a certain point in your spiritual cosmic growth, you suddenly get interested in those things. Before that, you're not. You're not at all. They sound weird. They sound freaky. What are you saying this to me for? Shut up. They're confusing you. But when you are at that certain point of spiritual growth, you start to go, no, wait a minute. I sense there's a story behind the story here. I'll listen. I trust my heart. I'll trust my soul. I think I'm okay. I'll know the spiritual growth. There comes a point where you cannot afford to keep takers around you. They slow you down. And you are in a place in your spiritual growth and process where you cannot afford to be slowed down any longer. Your work is too important. Your mission is too important. Those that are guiding you, those that sponsored your incarnation into this life, and what they have to pour through you is too important for you to be keeping this anchor around you that is slowing you down because that person is just taking. And you know, at that point, if you try and keep them around when you know that, you're wrong. You are wrong. You're getting in the way of progress, and it's a bigger picture. It's a bigger picture. So you see what I'm saying? These things that at first thought I just like, oh, that's an interesting little topic, givers and takers. They come down to the very nature of your soul and how fast can you grow. I think it's vital info. I wouldn't waste your time if I didn't think that. So the subject of givers and takers, just something for you to think about. Now, as you all know, I will simply share with you what my guides always share to me, and it's this. We are all multidimensional beings. What does that mean? That means that you're more than a physical body. I trust you all know that, okay? You've got another dimension to you at least one. Actually, a lot, right? You've got an emotional body, part that feels. Your emotional body could be ill right now as you sit there, but you could look fine. You look fine to me, but you're sitting there with a broken heart. How's that? Your emotional body is what's ill, not your physical body. You could be sitting there in a state of confusion. Mental body, ill. But you look fine. You go to the gym all the time. Great shape. You know what? You're crazy. And I mean that. Mentally ill. A lot of people, you'd be surprised, some of you should be glad you don't see that. Because you walk around going, oh my Lord, where am I? Is this a mental hospital or what? Yeah. So this is more common than you think, believe me. So you understand we're multidimensional. We are made of many components. But when you put all that together, wouldn't it not follow that you would have multidimensional experiences? You would, wouldn't it? And would it be too much of a stretch if I told you that as I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm actually talking to you on another level besides the physical dimension? That though you see my mouth moving and you hear sounds which you translate as words and you think you know what I'm talking about, I'm actually doing something else. Because I am. I'm talking to you on various levels, and I know I am. And I know exactly what I'm saying. It isn't in English. It's in Hawaiian. You see? No, actually it isn't. It's in the language of the soul, which is Hawaiian anyway. But I mean, it's still coming from a place where it's not about words. It means it's just coming from a place of, you're getting it. Gut, manao, it's just essence. It's where we need to be. So please know, dear ones, that what I'm saying to you in many different ways. And as someone once said, let those who have ears to hear, let them hear. You'll hear what I'm saying to the extent that you want to hear it. And that's perfectly perfect. I don't want to cram anything down your throat you don't want to hear. You know, hey, I'm a realist. At least I try to be. I have to be in my work. You know, people come to me with all kinds of things, pipe dreams. The work I do, you know, I counsel and stuff. People come, you know what, I want to start a healing center. You know, a beautiful thought. I'm not trying to be cynical, but you know what? Sometimes the person who comes up, you know what? I don't think so. A, they have no resources. B, they have no awareness of healing. C, there's nowhere they can get the money. D, you know what? They're never going to do it. Not as far as I can see. So what is my job? Not to say, you fool. No, of course not. It's like, you know what? That's a very beautiful thought, and it is. But you know, that might take a while. What I don't say is like 2 lives from now. I see the seed is planted. Good for you. You know, I mean, I'm never trying to discourage that. I mean, I'm not cynical. But that might take, so let's see what we can do right now. What's in your means right now? Let's be practical, you know? Sometimes it's about what you can do right now. See, that kind of a thing. So there's a time to be right here and now, you know, and not forget the pipe dreams. They're out there. So realistically, I want to say this. To some of you who are givers, I know, as I'm standing here, that some of you are locked in with a taker. Locked. I'm not going to look at you. But you know who you are. It's okay. You probably chose to be. It's okay. It's okay. It really is. But what can you do? Well, believe it or not, knowledge is power. Just to know that. Just to start to know that, I think, helps you. You can start to go, okay, it helps to know that. At least I don't have to, A, do anything that I feel is humiliating to me any longer, even if you have been. B, I can change a little bit what I'm giving, maybe, you know, rearrange it a little bit. And there's a couple of things you can do, such as in just maybe take a little more attention to what you need to do, and not being quite so on tap for this person who's just taking all day. You can adjust things. You can. It's not hopeless. No matter where you're at in life, there's always something you can do. You are all givers. You cannot stop giving. Don't try. Your beauty lies in your giving. Don't be ashamed of it, dear ones, please. You know, therein lies your beauty. That you're conduits for God's giving. There's nothing more lovely than that. But you don't need to give to someone who is like a black hole and just going to give. No matter how much you give, there's not enough. One last symptom of takers, in case you need one, probably don't. They complain when you stop giving to them. Don't they? Ooh, they get angry. You're already giving too much, and you cut back, you know, whatever. Ooh, they're angry. You are so stingy. You've been giving them for the last how long? But now you're stingy because you decided to pull back a little bit. So be aware of that. Yeah, it's not an easy road to have to deal with that, and it's not easy to have to look and see how much we have all been taken. You know why? Because again, usually, what can I say? You're not fools. If you've given to takers, they've been close. Ooh, have they been close? Haven't they? Real close. Real close. Not like that. Really, like that. They've been as close as you can get. So it's not easy. I know that. Again, I'm trying to be realistic here. But I also know that knowledge is the beginning of wisdom. To know these things, you can start to be wise enough to take some steps and change it around. Because here's the punchline. I'm at the end of my lecture. Is anyone getting sleepy? Okay. Here's the punchline. If you're a giver and you understand what takers are about, you can actually educate them. You can. That's what they need, you know. That's all they need. They don't know any better. One great master said they would know better if they do better. Or they would do better if they knew better. A little dyslexia there. I mean, so what do? You can train them. You can tell them stuff. You got to have the chutzpah. You have to have the nerve. You have to have what it takes to say, you know what? I just realized something. I've been giving a little too much to you. And you've been taking a little too much. You know, I don't feel good about that. So you know what? I'm going to cut back a little bit. I know you're not going to like it, but you know what? Sorry. You need to look at it. Sorry. Oof. Yeah. Sometimes you got to do that. How about your kids? Ooh, that's a heavy one. And I'm not talking just, the children you're raising in your home, who, your role is to give to them. Parents, you understand, I'm not saying, hey, hold back from the kids. No, I don't mean, I'm talking kids that are grown already and, should be doing other things. And they're still hitting you up. You know what I mean. Okay, I'm just saying be careful. Because there's a level where you have to, I think, out of this, I know you love these people. When you love someone, you do what you think is good for them, not always for you. But you really love them. So, when you love your taker friends, or whoever, you must say that at some point you can maybe start to be real true and real with them and say, I'm starting to think we need to, move this around a little bit. I think so. I know you're not going to like it, but I gotta do this for me. And don't be surprised if they get angry, or if they feel cheated, or they feel whatever, cut off, whatever. Okay, sorry. But if you know, and if you can really see that you're coming from the interest of truth, and that's to me where love is at, then I think you have a responsibility to do that. And I think it's wrong at that point to keep giving to a taker. You want to make the world a better place? Give to those that deserve it. Look around. That's the last thing I'm going to say. P.S. That's my last little whoop. Some of you who find it really hard to, redirect the flow, look in your world and look and see if there isn't at least one person that you know that deserves what you have to give more than the taker that's been taken. I'll bet you can find one. Somebody who's not saying a word. Some humble soul. Some dear, sweet person who really could use some help. And you're giving over here to this fool when they're over here crying and nobody's hearing them. Can we have some justice here, please? You understand what I'm saying? I think you all can do that. I think we all can do that. I think it's time. We need to look at this. And I couldn't stand up here and tell all these things to you if I didn't really believe with all my heart and soul that a far greater being than me wanted me to say every single word. And I am privileged to be able to hear it and be his mouthpiece. And that's where I stand with this whole thing. Yeah.
When you have an ethnic group, or even let's say a family, who are givers or takers, it's mainly because they see their relatives or their family members or their family group giving all the time or taking all the time, so they naturally follow suit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Plus, when you have somebody in the family always taking, and you're always giving, and you want to stop, it's very difficult to stop because it becomes a confrontation.
Absolutely.
And
You're right.
you
Totally.
have problems.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
You can't chase them out.
No. That's what I said. You can't. And as I said, I'm not suggesting making a scene. I'm not suggesting being mean or anything like that. But I think that there is a responsibility in each soul to look at the truth of the situation and come from the point of view of truth, not family considerations, not blood tie, not ethnic tie, not nothing. Whatever. That's what I mean, I come from an ethnic group of givers. My mom was the ultimate giver. That woman just gave and gave and gave till she died, Must I do the same thing? No, thank God. Though God knows I have, to a point. But I saw that and I said, look what it did for her. It wore her down. She got frazzled away, and she went that way. God bless her soul. I'm sure she's in heaven. I know I've seen her, by the way. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, but just because she was that way, and most of the people in my family doesn't mean I have to be like that. That's why I said ethnic. I didn't mean to point out, and these people are good, these people are bad. No, I mean whatever your ethnic group may be. You know who they are. You know what your folks are. You know what your family. We all know that. That doesn't mean you have to follow in line, though. That's the only point I was making. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, just that. And it's good to be able to have that objectivity to look and go, just because they're that way doesn't mean I have to be like that. I know. Okay, here. No, I better not go there. Never mind. Cancel. Stop. We're not going to say that one. I thought of something, but nah. Let's not do that. I might step on a few toes there. All I'm saying is that I think that just because we are brought up a certain way doesn't mean we have to stay that way. That's really the bottom line. I think we need to be, and we are, souls, individuals, each one of you here, enough to be able to look at yourself and say, it doesn't matter who I was brought up by. It doesn't matter what my mom and dad did. It doesn't matter all those things. I can choose for myself where I think the truth lies and be there. that's more what I'm talking about. Okay. This particular lecture I was strongly suggested to give by those who I work with from the spiritual realms. Tomorrow I'm